Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar, A Novel Form Graphic Novels Part 2, which is the third program in a four-part series of special webinars devoted to graphic novels. I am Ronny Khuri, Associate Editor, Books for Youth at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. If you're in the audience, you are in listen-only mode, but we do welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so that they can follow up with you after the webinar. Links to today's slides and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download these materials at any time by copying the URLs on this screen into your web browser. Plus, if you'd like to watch the recordings of the first two webinars in our Graphic Novels and Libraries series, simply visit bit.ly/gnrecording1 or bit.ly/gnrecording2, and stay tuned for more information about our final graphic novel themed webinar of the summer coming up on August 17th. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Rachel Weiss, School and Library Associate Manager at Penguin Young Readers, Melissa Croce, Associate Marketing Manager at Macmillan Children's Publishing Group, Emily Duvall, Library Marketing Manager at Random House Children's Books, Matt Poulter, Marketing Manager at Scholastic, and Sarah Haskell, Marketing Director at DC Comics. First up, we will hear from Rachel Weiss. Rachel is the Associate Manager of School and Library Marketing at Penguin Young Readers. She's still trying to up her graphic novel knowledge, but her favorite graphic novel reads of late are Dragon Hoops and Dancing at the Pity Party. Welcome, Rachel. The floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Ronny. I'm serious. I'm completely obsessed with Dragon Hoops and Dancing at the Pity Party, so you should all really check them both out and then talk to me about them. So thank you for that. Now, without further ado, on to my titles. The first one I'm going to be talking about is When Stars Are Scattered. This is new from Victoria Jamieson, the author and illustrator of the Newbery Honor-winning Roller Girl and All's Fair in Middle School. This new graphic novel collaboration is a semi-fictionalized memoir of Omar Mohammed's childhood growing up as a Somali refugee in a refugee camp. This book has garnered 5-star reviews thus far and is not one to be missed. Next is my favorite, Dancing at the Pity Party by Tyler Fetter. This is a graphic novel debut that's absolutely stunning. This is also a memoir that has also received 5-star reviews, and it's one you'll need tissues for. This follows Tyler as she goes off to college, discovers her mother has cancer, and then her mother quickly passes away after her diagnosis. It goes from a coming-of-age novel to a meditation on grief, but it also has a lot of humor thrown in. Then we have The Pathfinder Society, The Mystery of the Moon Tower. This book follows 5 curious kids, newcomer Kyle, history buff Beth, magician in training Harry, cheerleader/math queen Vic, and tinkerer Nate, who are thrown together at summer camp where they accept a mysterious project that leads them to a legendary treasure. This is perfect for fans of The Last Kids on Earth or the Lumberjane series, and it also has a nice nostalgic hint of the Scooby-Doo team. Then Zoo Patrol Squad. Did your patrons love Zootopia and want more books like it? Then look no further. Timid Finlock Fox and outgoing Penny the Pig team up for their first adventure as they look for clues to track down the missing lion and king cobra in their usually peaceful zoo. The paperback of this will come out in 2021, and the second book in the Zoo Patrol Squad series is due to hit shelves this December. Now we have Shirley and Jamila Save Their Summer. I love this one too, folks. Shirley and Jamila are a modern kid Sherlock and Watson. And as Jillian Gertz, the author and illustrator, said at the recent Booklist graphic novel panel, which you can watch on demand now, she, quote, didn't feel the need to be super faithful to the Sherlock Holmes story because it's super racist and sexist, end quote. And so we get this modern twist on a very old classic. This is set in Toronto and follows two sleuths as they solve mysteries other kids come to them with. This is one you have to pick up and read for yourselves, and it's the beginning of a series. Then we have The City of Secrets by author and illustrator Victoria Ying. She was also on the recent Booklist graphic novels panel, so you should really watch that one after this ends. Dan Santat called this book an edge-of-your-seat thriller, and he is correct. Ever and Hannah are two badass kids who live in a steampunk-inspired world and are being spied on by the Switchboard operating facility. What comes next is an amazing adventure story with such dynamic artwork created by Victoria, who is an experienced animator and who has worked on movies you might have heard of, like Tangled, Frozen, and Moana. And then next is our first of our early reader graphic novels. Cookie is super outgoing and Broccoli is really shy, but when they meet at school on their first day, they become the best friends and work to navigate the ups and downs of starting school. I love that on this cover it says, "Ready for school?" And then there's a tiny little question at the bottom that says, "Are you?" This is something that is always relevant, but is particularly relevant this year. This is a perfect book for any fan of Narwhal and Jelly and has a super accessible illustration style, which you can see here. And then we have another early reader graphic novel, Peanut, Butter, and Crackers. Crackers is a rescue dog who's a little on the nervous side. Butter is a plump cat who's a little self-obsessed. And Peanut is the brand new puppy who's about to turn their quiet lives upside down. This is a super funny and endearing graphic novel all about friendship and acceptance, and with a hilarious combination of pets. For this next slide, I just want to remind you guys about Cosmic Commandos and the companion Monster Mayhem. These exist. They came out 2 and 3 years ago. They're super fun STEAM-themed graphic novels. Originally, they were published as Paper Over Board, but this March, they both came out in paperback. So make sure you pick them up in this new format. Then for Sea Sirens and the recently released sequel Sky Island. These are visually stunning middle grade graphic novels about a Vietnamese American surfer girl and her one-eyed cat who discovers a fantasy world under the sea. The series was inspired by L. Frank Baum's novel and is super charming with incredibly detailed illustrations and a fast-paced adventure. And then the final book that I'm going to talk about is called Melly Bean. This is our final early reader graphic novel, Melly Bean and the Giant Monster. This graphic novel reads like if The Secret Life of Pets met The Wizard of Oz. It's all about our hero Melly Bean, the black dog on the cover, who gets trapped in a world full of magic, adventure, and a giant monster who you can see on the screen right now. This is the start of a series, and the second book will be coming out in 2021. All right, so that ends the titles that I'm going to talk to you about today, but I want everyone to write down this URL, bit.ly/PYR graphic novels. There you'll find a sign-up form where you can request to receive physical ARCs of some of our early reader graphic novels like Peanut Butter and Crackers and Cookie and Broccoli. Now that our conferences aren't really a thing, we have extra copies to give away. So make sure you sign up and be one of the first 100 people that will be sent some graphic novels. And we can leave this up on the screen for a minute so you guys can write it down, start requesting. Or really, you should request after this is over so you pay attention to what everyone else has to say. I'll also put it in the chat, or in the Q&A, so you guys can find it afterwards. So if we go to the final slide, the URL is also on this. So if you still want to see it, it's there. If you have any questions about any of these books or anything PYR related, please feel free to contact me. My name is Rachel Weiss. My email is rweiss@penguinrandomhouse.com. And that is all for me today. So thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Rachel. Next up, we will hear from Melissa Croce. Melissa is the Associate Marketing Manager for Macmillan Children's School and Library team. She has been with the company for 5 years. Her favorite Macmillan books to read are graphic novels, middle grade nonfiction, and young adult fantasy. Thus far, she's passed time while in quarantine by watching the new Emma movie half a dozen times and counting, starting a tiny letter, trying to become a yogi, and of course, reading. Take it away, Melissa.
Thanks, Ronnie. Hi, everybody. Some housekeeping before I get started. Next. So unlike Rachel, I will not be able to send physical copies of any titles. The majority of these titles are available for request to download on NetGalley via the First Second account. If you have any other questions, my account info is here, and I will have this slide up again at the end of my presentation as well. So let's get started. Next. So first up, we have The Nutcracker and the Mouse King by E.T.A. Hoffman and adapted and illustrated by Natalie Anderson. So this adaptation of this beloved Christmas classic has received a very vibrant and kid-friendly makeover. Like, this is not your grandma's, like ballet. Of all the gifts under the tree on Christmas Eve, only one captures Marie's heart, a humble nutcracker. He's curious, he has kind eyes, sweet red cheeks, and a friendly appearance. Next. As midnight nears, he comes to life, revealing a fairy tale world of magic and wonder, wicked princesses and fierce battles, and an ancient curse that can only be broken with the help of a true friend. With the evil Mouse King looming and her dream world threatened, Marie will have to find the strength to stand up for her nutcracker, no matter what it takes. Next. Spend some more time in the sewers with the investigators. Sewer-loving secret agents Mango and Brash are plunged into a new mystery and a big ol' mess in John Patrick Green's hilarious adventure-packed graphic novel, Investigators Take the Plunge. Suit headquarters is under attack, and Mango and Brash are going undercover and underground, disguised as city sewer workers to unclog a sticky situation. Next. But when their search for the criminal, Crackerdile, backfires, the toilets they travel through back up, and the investigators take the blame for it. Can Mango and Brash restore their good name and put the real culprit behind bars before the whole city is in deep, deep water? For any kid who wants more books in the same vein as the Dogman series, look no further than these gators. I've really enjoyed reading this series. As my entire presentation, it's full of puns, full of fun jokes. So I imagine that kids 2 decades younger than me will hopefully feel the same. Next. Okay, so on the left here, for your reference, we have the original Investigators, and on the right, we have the third book in the series, Investigators Off the Hook, which will release in winter 2021. Next. So here we have Nico Bravo and the Cellar Dwellers, say that 10 times fast, by Mike Cavallaro, the second book in this hilarious graphic novel series. In the first book of the series, Nico Bravo and the Hounds of Hades, readers were introduced to Vulcan's celestial supply shop, where you can find magical merchandise to solve any problems. It is staffed with Nico Bravo, a sphinx named Lula, and a unicorn named Buck, who pride themselves on providing legendary service and expertise in all areas of the arcane. In this volume, Nico faces off against Ahriman, the god of evil. No big deal. Ahriman is fed up with Nico thwarting all of his heinous plans, and he sends a shapeshifter named Orcus to Vulcans on a covert mission to take Nico and his crew down. Next. Orcus mistakenly unleashes a dangerous misery from the god of misfortune's pouch, threatening everyone in the supply shop, but also discovers the missing link between Nico, the Unicorn Wars, and reality itself. What will happen to Nico and his friends when all their troubles converge in a desperate battle for the fate of the universe? You'll have to read and find out. And then on the next slide here is the first volume I mentioned earlier, Nico Bravo and the Hounds of Hades. So you can start at the very beginning. Next. Here's a book that's the first in a series, Dungeon Critters by Natalie Reese and Sarah Getter. Quests, plots, evil plants, magic and mayhem. Join the Dungeon Critters, a tight-knit squad of animal companions on a wild adventure investigating, get this, a sinister botanical conspiracy among the nobility. As they risk their lives traveling through, risk their lives traveling through haunted dungeons, swamps, and high society balls, they also come closer together as friends. Motivated by a lust for adventure, these critters navigate not only perils and dangers of the natural world, but perils and dangers of the heart. This book is perfect for any budding Dungeons & Dragons player and fantasy lover. I thought this series opener was super well done, and I'm already really looking forward to the next installment. Next. So hopefully you've heard of the History Comic series, but if not, I'm happy to put it on your radar now. The third installment of this new series from Per Second, History Comics, The Challenger Disaster by Pranas P. Nazhukaitis, turns the clock back to January 28, 1986, when 7 astronauts boarded the space shuttle Challenger on what they thought would be a routine mission. Excitement was filling the air as the clock counted down to liftoff, but at T plus 73 seconds after launch, the unthinkable happened, which we all know. Next. What caused the midair explosion? Set off in a far future, a group of curious kids investigate the hard questions surrounding the Challenger explosion. Inspired by the legacy and sacrifice of the Challenger 7, they continue in their footsteps, setting out towards the stars and into the great unknown. Next. Here we have the 2 previous installments of the History Comics series. Like the Science Comics series, History Comics makes a ton of facts, easily accessible and digestible for readers through an easy-to-follow narrative. Next. Moving on into YA, this is Displacement by Kiku Hughes. Kiku is on vacation in San Francisco when she suddenly finds herself displaced to the 1940s Japanese-American internment camp that her late grandmother, Ernestina, was forcibly relocated to during World War II. These displacements keep occurring until Kiku finds herself stuck back in time. Living alongside her young grandmother and other citizens in the internment camps, Kiku gets the education she never received in history class. Next. She witnesses the lives of Japanese Americans who were denied their civil liberties and suffered greatly, but managed to cultivate community and commit acts of resistance in order to survive. This is a riveting, bittersweet tale that highlights the intergenerational impact and power of memory. If you want to hear more from Kiku, she just participated in a graphic novel panel with Booklist last month, the video of which was linked to earlier and available online in their webinars archive. All right, next. Here we have a trilogy conclusion in Last Pick, Rise Up from Jason Walls. If you aren't familiar with this series, here's a quick recap. 3 years ago, aliens invaded Earth and abducted everyone they deemed useful. The only ones spared were those too young, too old, or too feeble to be of value. Living on Earth under the aliens' harsh rule, humanity's rejects do their best to survive. Their captors never consider them a threat, until now. Twins Sam and Wyatt are ready to chuck their labels and start a revolution. It's time for the kids last picked to step into the game. Next. So in the second book, Last Pick, Born to Run, Sam and Wyatt were separated. Sam is a galaxy away in space, and Wyatt is back on Earth. Sam is in the middle of an alien war, but she has a new friend and more in Mia, and Wyatt is leading the resistance of those on Earth. In Rise Up, it's time for the twins to take a last stand, both on Earth and in space. Will they ever be reunited with each other, or even with their long-lost parents? You'll have to read the series to find out. Next. And for your reference, once again, here are the first 2 books in the series, Last Pick and Last Pick, Born to Run. Next. This is Flamer by Mike Curato, one of my favorites of the season. The author of the picture book series of Little Elliot is back, but this time with a YA graphic novel that's based loosely on his own adolescence. It is the summer between middle school and high school, and Aiden Navarro is away at camp. Everyone is going through changes, but for Aiden, the stakes feel even higher as he navigates friendships, deals with bullies, and spends with Elias, a boy he can't stop thinking about. He finds himself on a path of self-discovery and acceptance. Next. In addition to being beautifully drawn, as you can see here, this book is so powerful. It tackles homophobia, racism, and toxic masculinity in such a haunting way. If you want to hear more from Mike, he also just participated in a graphic novel panel with Booklist. Again, the video of which was linked to earlier. He and Kiku were in the same panel along with two Penguin creators, so it's a great time. As Rachel said earlier, you should definitely check it out. Next. Lastly, I have two very different titles for adults. The first is an adaptation of the spooky Celtic legend, The Daughters of Ys, by M.T. Anderson and illustrated by Joe Rue. And please bear with me as I try to pronounce everything as best I can, as looking up pronunciations on Google had very mixed results for me. So Ys, city of wealth and wonder, the history of dark secrets. The queen used magic to raise the great walls that kept Ys safe from the tumultuous sea that surrounds it. But after her inexplicable death, her daughters drift apart. Rosen, the heir to the throne, spends her time on the moors communing with wild animals. She's the brunette. And Dehu, the youngest, enjoys the splendors of royal life and is eager to take part in palace intrigue. She's the redhead. Their father is a non-entity, which makes sense. Next. When the sisters' bond is irrevocably changed, the fate of Ys is sealed, exposing the monsters that lurk in plain view. M.T. Anderson and Joe Rue reimagine this classic Breton folktale of love, loss, and rebirth, revealing the secrets that lie beneath the surface. When I read this book, I couldn't stop thinking about its eerie ending and the lessons that this tale wanted to impart. Next. The second adult title and the last on my list is World Citizens Comics, Fault Lines in the Constitution by Cynthia and Sanford Levinson, illustrated by Ali Schwed. The latest volume in our World Citizens Comic graphic novel series, Fault Lines in the Constitution, teaches readers how this founding document continues to shape modern American society. In 1787, after 116 days of heated debates and bitter arguments, the Constitution was created. This imperfect document set forth America's guiding principles, but it would also introduce some of today's most contentious political issues, from gerrymandering to the Electoral College to presidential impeachment. Next. With colorful art, compelling discourse, and true stories from America's past and present, Fault Lines in the Constitution sheds light on how today's political struggles have their origins in the decisions of our founding fathers. Next. And although World Citizen Comics are technically categorized as adult graphic novels, these are perfect to use in high school, social studies, and civics classes. Unrig, pictured here, was the first volume in our series and is also out now. Next. That is everything from me. Again, please note that I will not be able to send out any physical galleys. The majority of these titles are currently available on NetGalley at the first second account. If you have any other questions, my contact info, again, is here. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Melissa. Next up, we have Emily Duvall. Emily is a library marketing manager for Random House School and Library Marketing, where she has worked for over 3 years. Among conference planning and advertising, Emily manages, the Random House School and Library social handles, so please follow those and don't hesitate to say hello. Her favorite category to work on is middle grade, and she enjoys working on picture book biographies and graphic novels. Thank you for joining us today, Emily.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be able to talk about some graphic novels. Next slide. So before I go into specific titles, I just wanted to call out that this is our first year of our new dedicated graphic novel imprint, Random House Graphic. These are all the titles that have published under the imprint this year. Some of them I'll be talking about today, but definitely check them out if you haven't already. You will see graphic novels coming out of the other imprints that fall under the umbrella of Random House Children's Books, but Random House Graphic is an imprint solely dedicated to publishing graphic novels only for readers of all ages. And some of these are really fantastic, so definitely check them out. Next slide. So we're going to kick it off with some series for early readers and middle grade readers. For those readers who just cannot stop reading graphic novels and love a good series, these are all fantastic picks. So Donut Feed the Squirrels is a new graphic novel series about two squirrels who are best friends who have caught wind of a donut food truck and must investigate. I really don't blame them. And hilarity ensues. Mika Song is a former art teacher and has something to laugh at on every page while still addressing problem solving and the power of working together. This is great for fans of Narwhal and Jelly. And Mika will be speaking on the upcoming graphic novels book list webinar on August 17th, so be sure to register and check that out. Shark and Bot is another new graphic novel series about the most unlikely of friendships, a shark and a robot. This is a perfect early reader level graphic novel for kids just getting into the format, and the story is silly and fun with a lovely message of friendship. Super Sidekicks is a graphic novel series from cartoonist Gavin Ong Than. In a world where several superheroes rule all, the sidekicks know that they are the ones doing all the work. And there's just a lot of cleanup when you are fighting crime and saving the world. Junior Justice declares that enough is enough and bands together a group of super sidekicks ready to come out of the shadows and prove they are much more than just sidekicks. This is a perfect series for fans of Hilo and a really fun twist on the world of superheroes. And it's a personal favorite of mine. It's a really smart, witty humor that I think kids will just love. And Max Meow, Cat Crusader, who has the best catchphrase, I think, of all, Meowza. It's a new graphic novel series from John Gallagher. This is a laugh out loud adventure with Max the Cat Crusader. Judd Winnick, author of the Hilo series, calls Max Meow fun, furry, and fantastic. There are tons of cat puns and action-packed adventure. John Gallagher will also be on the August 17th panel with Nico, so be sure to register for that. Next slide. So the Seance Tea Party is one of it's my favorite kind of graphic novel. It packs in whimsy with a heartfelt story. Growing up sounds terrible. No one has time to do anything fun or play outside or use their imagination. Everything is suddenly so serious, and people are more interested in their looks and what others think about them than having fun adventures, and Laura wants no part of it. After watching her circle of friends seemingly fade away, Laura is determined to still have fun on her own. A tea party with a twist leaves Laura to rediscovering Alexa, the ghost that haunts her house, and Laura's old imaginary friend. Laura and Alexa are thrilled to meet kindred spirits, and they become best friends, but unfortunately not everything can last forever. Rumina Yi brings to life a story about growing up, childhood, and what it means to let go. This is a fantastical story following lovable characters as they each realize what it means to be who you are. This just has a little bit of everything, and it'll tug at your heartstrings, but also has a lot of wonderful magical realism, and it's just a delight. Next slide. So Stepping Stones actually came out earlier in the year, but I wanted to call it out because you should not miss it. Lucy Nicely is the acclaimed graphic novelist of some memoirs that you might be familiar with, and this is her first middle grade story. Perfect for fans of Awkward and Be Prepared, Stepping Stones follows Jen, who didn't want to leave the city when she has to move to a farm with her mom and her mom's new boyfriend. It's a new place with two new sisters, Andy and Reese. As if learning new chores on Peapod Farm wasn't enough, having to deal with a perfect at everything Andy might be the last straw for Jen. Besides cleaning the chicken coop, trying to keep up with the customers at the local farmer's market, and missing her old life, Jen has to deal with her own insecurities about this new family and where she fits in. This is a wonderful middle grade story full of friendship, self-discovery, and finding confidence in stressful or intimidating situations. Jen might have not wanted to go to Peapod Farm, but I promise between the realistic voices and thoughtful illustrations, you won't want to leave. One of the things I love about this is that Jen actually experiences a lot of anxiety, and there's a great scene where she works at the farmer's market and she's trying to make change, and she can't, and she gets nervous, and she doesn't quite know what to do. And I think a lot of middle grade readers can relate to that. I can definitely relate to that even as a full-blown adult. So there's just a lot of realistic elements here, and it's just great. And it's part of a series, so there'll be another Peapod Farm story coming up next year. Next slide. So for fans of Cardboard Kingdom, this is Doodleville. Doodleville follows a group of young kids who are aspiring artists, and to their surprise, their doodles and creations come to life and start to cause a bit too much chaos in the world they have created. They must come together to save Doodleville. Chad is such a master at melding humor with honesty and diverse characters with real emotions. One thing that I love about Doodleville is how it addresses anxiety. You might be able to tell that I'm an anxious person, but I really think that's really important for young readers. And it's still engaging and super fun and funny that kids are just going to eat up. Chad just has a great flair for creative stories, and we're just really excited about this one. And Cardboard Kingdom 2 is coming up next year too, so we're really excited. Next slide. Witches of Brooklyn. So I think this is one of my favorite graphic novels that I've read in a really, really long time. Who knew that magic lives in Brooklyn? I'm sure many of you knew that already. But Effie lost her home and her mom, and she has to move into Brooklyn with her two aunts who are a little strange. In a strange twist, Effie learns more about her family and herself. If you have fans of the Sabrina the Teenage Witch series, this is such a fun new series. The art is so fun and a little bit dark. The Brooklyn setting is really great. And what really makes the book are the crazy aunts, and the story has a great message about family as well. Next slide. Magic Fish. So this is an absolutely gorgeous debut Own Voices YA graphic novel, perfect for fans of The Prince and the Dressmaker and American-Born Chinese. Tian's parents are struggling with their English, and he is connecting and communicating with them through books he borrows from the library. But Tian is struggling to find the right way to tell them that he is gay, and through a Vietnamese fairy tale, he finds the way to tell them. It's a powerful personal narrative that deals with the complexity of family and how stories bring us together. Trung Lu Nguyen is a breakout debut star in the graphic novel world, but has a strong following as a graphic artist. The art in this is stunning. There's meticulous attention to detail with sweeping and engrossing spreads that combine the world of folklore with the very real world of this teenager struggling to come out of the closet. This is a wonderful and literary graphic novel that's sure to inspire a lot of conversations, and it's the perfect book for book clubs. This is also a great introduction to graphic novels for those who have been waiting for the right book to give the format a try. This is sure to captivate them, and I highly, highly recommend it. It's already garnered 2-star reviews, and we just love it. I highly recommend checking out the Q&A with Chung that was in the Booklist graphic novels for libraries issue. It was absolutely fantastic, and we love working with him. So I hope you enjoy the book. Next slide. That's it for me. Please sign up for our newsletter. The website link is there at rhteacherslibrarians.com. That's how you can find out about more webinars, conferences, events, new materials, new books, and all our fun news. Feel free to follow us on Twitter and Facebook to keep up with all the latest and greatest stuff that we're doing. All the books you heard about today are available to request on NetGalley, and for free downloadable resources for virtual learning, including reproducible activities, discussion guides, and more, visit rhteacherslibrarians.com. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Emily. Our next panelist will be Matt Poulter. Matt is a marketing manager for Scholastic. He enjoys long walks on the beach and candlelit dinners, and has a fantastic recipe for chili. But today he's here to talk about graphic novels. Matt, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ronnie, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am so excited to tell you about new and upcoming books from Scholastic Graphix. 2020 is the 15th anniversary of Scholastic Graphix, and we have plenty of reasons to celebrate. From younger readers, laugh-out-loud characters, fresh takes on classic stories, and brand new adventures, there are a lot of reasons to make room on your graphic novel shelf this fall. Just some housekeeping. Scholastic e-galleys are available on Edelweiss, and you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Scholastic Graphix. The next slide, please. So starting off with every kid's favorite canine crime fighter, he's half man, half dog, all hero. Dogman, the international best-selling Eisner-nominated series from Dave Pilkey, is back with the latest book, Dogman, Grime, and Punishment. The Dogman series appeals to readers of all ages, and behind all the jokes and sight gags and puns that will leave kids howling with laughter, Dogman explores universally positive themes, including empathy, kindness, and the importance of doing good. And that's not the only book from Dave Pilkey this year. We are also launching a brand new graphic novel series starring fan favorite character, Little Petey. In Cat Kid Comic Club, Little Petey teaches a school of tadpoles how to make their very own comics. As the story unwinds with mishaps and hilarity, readers get to see the progress, mistakes, and improvements that come with practice and persistence, inspiring them to unleash their creativity and tell their own stories. Cat Kid Comic Club features mixed media from acrylics, pastels, colored pencils, clay, cardboard sculptures, photography, and even cookies to tell fun stories, all in the service of helping kids to tell their story their way. This is Dave Pilkey as you've never seen him before. Next slide, please. And from Coretta Scott King honor-winning author Varian Johnson, teaming up with rising cartoonist Shannon Wright for a brand new middle grade series, Twins. Twin sisters Maureen and Francine have always done everything together, but when they enter middle school, suddenly Francine wants to forge a new identity for herself, one without Maureen. She's dressing differently, asking people to call her Fran, and before long, the sisters find themselves on either side of the race for class president. Fans of Smile and Sisters will want to check out this fun, touching, family-positive series. Varian Johnson, of course, is the award-winning author of The Parker Inheritance and The Great Green Heist. This is Shannon Wright's debut graphic novel. I see a question in the chat, real quick answer. Is Cat Kid Comic Club one of those books kids are meant to write in? No, it is a sort of book that inspires activities. It's not actually activity-based. Next slide, please. And I'm so excited to talk about The Witches graphic novel. This is the first ever graphic novel adaptation of a rolled down book. Witches are real, they live among us, they have ordinary jobs in ordinary towns all over the world. And there is nothing they despise more than children. Next slide, please. Eisner Award-winning French artist Penelope Bajou was hand-selected by the Dahl estate to adapt this story, and she has done an incredible job bringing this classic tale to life. The Witches graphic novel is a dynamic new take that manages to stay true to all the dark humor, suspense, and general kookiness of the original novel. This book is perfect for longtime Roald Dahl fans and newcomers alike. Next slide, please. You won't be able to get enough of the Nat Enough series. This funny, heartfelt middle grade series debuted this spring and became an instant New York Times bestseller. Now Nat is back in Forget-Me-Nat. For the first time in her life, Natalie feels confident. Her talents are being recognized, she has supportive friends, and she's spending a ton of time with her crush, Derek. But when Derek tells Natalie that he just wants to be friends, Natalie is, well, crushed. It's called a crush for a reason, after all. Author Maria Scrivan is the creator of the nationally syndicated comic Half Full, which appears in newspapers nationwide. The Not Enough series is her first graphic novel and combines quirky humor with an important message about self-confidence and self-discovery. Next slide, please. And let's take a trip back to the 90s, which certainly has to be better than 2020. Animorphs is back. K.A. Applegate's wildly popular best-selling sci-fi series returns as a full-color graphic novel for a new generation. It's adapted by Eisner-nominated illustrator Chris Brine. Follow 5 teens as they use their animal morphing powers to fight back against a secret alien invasion. The series is smartly modernized for new readers while staying true to the story beats and action that fans expect, and a movie adaptation is also in the works. Next slide, please. And Scholastic is proud to launch a new line of younger reader graphic novels starting this fall with Bun Bun and Bon Bon and Squidding Around. Graphix younger reader books are aimed at children ages 7 to 10. They feature approachable lengths, clear artwork, and easy to follow paneling. Graphix early readers are perfect for newly independent readers, and with their fun stories and colorful characters, these books are sure to foster a lifelong love of reading for graphic novels and all books. Bun Bun and Bon Bon stars the fanciest friendship between a little bunny named Bun Bun and what else but a talking piece of candy named Bon Bon. Bun Bun has it all: a delightful Bun Bun nose, a winning Bun Bun smile, and not one but two adorable Bun Bun ears. But Bun Bun doesn't have a friend until he meets Bon Bon. Learning how to be fancy and eating donuts for lunch are two of the duo's many adventures in this irresistible young graphic novel. Jess Keating is an award-winning picture book author, and this book is her first graphic novel. And in Squidding Around, we meet Squizzard, a little squid with a big personality. He loves telling jokes, scarfing sardines, and hanging with his best friend Toothy the shark. But when Squizzard's classic clown antics go too far, Toothy tells Squizzard they cannot be friends anymore. Can Squizzard convince his friend to give him a second chance, or is he doomed to be the loneliest squid at Deep Reef Elementary? Next slide, please. And as my portion of the presentation comes to a close, I want to give you all the sneakiest of sneak peeks at a book coming out in spring 2021, Allergic. At home, Maggie is the odd one out. Her parents are preoccupied with the new baby, and her younger brothers are twins and in a world of their own. Maggie thinks a new puppy might be the answer, but when she tries to pick one out on her birthday, she breaks out in hives and rashes. Turns out she's severely allergic to anything with fur. Can Maggie outsmart her allergies and find the perfect pet? With illustrations by Michelle Mee Nutter, Megan Wagner Lloyd draws on her own childhood to tell a heartfelt story of family, friendship, and finding a place to belong. You'll be itching for this book next year. And next slide. This brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for tuning in and tuning on, and thank you to Booklist for hosting. Graphix, get drawn in.
Thank you, Matt. Our final panelist today will be Sarah Haskell. Sarah has grown up at DC from her roots in the international rights side of the business to now running the book marketing for Batman, Wonder Woman, and all the others. Her love of reading runs deep, and she wants nothing more than to see epic stories get told from every voice in every corner of the world. Take it away, Sarah.
Hello, thank you all for joining us. Yeah, great introduction there. So here we are with DC Comics, and I'm going to start with our oldest content first and work our way back to the kids. So if we go on to this next slide, you will see DC Black Label books that are coming up. Black Label being our 18 and up sort of range of titles. These are all for mature readers, and so you're seeing here Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, a standalone story of, you know, what is the role of a hero when there's nothing left to save. Dun, dun, dun. Mad Max, post-apocalyptic style world, monsters are ravaging. Wonder Woman is still here, still fighting the good fights and trying to save what's left of humanity. But, you know, how did we get to this spot? The secret she uncovers will shake her to her core. All full of that DC drama, DC heroics that you know so well. Black Label told with a mature storytelling slant on it for adult readers. The other title you see here, Batman 3 Jokers, is Jeff Johns' take on Batman Joker mythology. The Joker has been with Batman since the beginning, 1939, I believe. And he's gone through many different iterations. You've got the trickster Joker, you've got the raging psychopath Joker, and so Jeff plays with that idea of what if there's been three of them all along, and how does that mess with Batman's mind? So it's a deep dive off of that, and if you can see by the artwork, directly sort of inspired by the Killing Joke classic story from 25 years ago, Brian Boland style artwork. Though he did not illustrate this book, it's going to be a really interesting tale, and anyone who's been following Batman and the Joker is definitely going to want to pick this one up to continue to follow that mythology into the future as we change it. Going on to the next slide. Thank you, Alvin. Yeah, highly recommend the DC Black Label stuff. It's great. We've got a new line, Joe Hill, coming to bring us Hill House Comics. So these books are going to start dropping here in September, October, November. You see the 5 titles before you. Joe Hill wrote the first title that launched this, Basket Full of Heads, about a girl on an island in Maine and gets a cursed axe that when she defends herself and chops off the heads stay alive. So you've got this sort of creepy Greek chorus of basket full of heads that's talking to her while she's going through this horror story to save the boyfriend, turning that trope on its head of the helpless damsel. She now becomes the rescuer. Low, Low Woods by Carmen Maria Machado comes up next. Carmen being no stranger to body horror, that sort of transformational, what's happening inside of me sort of story in a small town, Pennsylvania. Yes, Jamie seeing super excited, as am I. This one is really good stuff. So all of these books have been curated by Joe. He picked the authors and the artists and, selected the pairings that were going to be going forward with them, but he only actually wrote Basket Full of Heads and then Plunge, the last one that wrapped up the series that was the last released, about an Arctic explorer ship that got lost and was found 20 years later. No one has aged in a day, but their eyes are missing. Dun, dun, dun. So much horror, so creepy. Each of these with its own very different sort of take on horror, from your, classic slasher to your gothic and Daphne Byrne. Just something for everybody here, and highly recommend you check them out. These books are going to be beautiful hardcovers with vellum overlay jackets. So these are going to be for any collector and anyone who wants to get into horror, just the art and the storytelling working together wonderfully. All of these have galleys online available. Plunge, we're getting up real soon here, but the rest of them are all already on Edelweiss NetGalley, so be sure to request them there. As with many of publishers, we don't have physical galleys at the moment, mainly due to COVID, but we do still want to get these stories out to you and have them available digitally, so please feel free to request, because these are fantastic stories. So that takes us through the adult line of what we want to get you excited about on that side, but to sort of bring us back to in line with most of the other publishers who are here today, we've got kids stuff and YA as well. So if we go on to the next slide, DC graphic novels for young adults. So this line is a little over a year old now and has been just some really exciting storytelling coming out of it, working with top-notch authors. So coming up in January, you'll see Claudia Gray telling us the House of L, story that takes place on Krypton before the tragic destruction of that planet. Sort of Romeo and Juliet-esque, star-crossed lovers, doomed story here, with one of them from a high class and the other one from a lower class of Kryptonian society, really exploring that sort of sci-fi setting, and beautifully illustrated some really cool depictions of what a advanced civilization like Krypton could look like. And then in February, we'll have Nubia by L.L. McKinney. I am so excited for this book. It's, asking the question of how can you be a hero if the world doesn't see you as a person? Chills. Love it. You've got Wonder Woman's twin sister Nubia being raised in Atlanta by her two moms, and she's got all of the super strengths, all of the intelligence, everything that you expect from a Wonder Woman, but then living in American contemporary society as a Black woman, with that sort of degree of invisibility and dismissal that can happen there. So she's working to, prove herself as a hero and become the hero that she knows that she is in the society as we know it today. So it should be really, really fascinating, really, really good. And again, the colors on this and the illustrations are just beautiful. You can check out online galleys and spreads. I believe we have up on Edelweiss for you now. Next slide. Thank you, is more of our YA books. These ones are coming a little bit sooner, so if you think it's too far to wait till February for Nubia, you can pick these up real soon. Here's September. We've got the follow-up to Teen Titans Raven with Teen Titans Beast Boy. The Cami Garcia, Gabriel Piccolo teaming up again. Really fun. Really excited about this one for all of the people who've loved Raven, loves Beast Boy. There's maybe something simmering between them. Not in this book, but we'll see when the third one comes. So this is definitely something for the fans here, and just a really fun story of his coming of age and coming into his powers. Swamp Thing Twin Branches in October by Maggie Stiefvater is a horror take on Swamp Thing and the transformation of man into plant, the relationship between brothers told in sort of a Southern Gothic style. Again, beautiful illustrations there, really, really lush vegetation and colors coming through from Morgan Beam. Lauren Miracle brings us Victor and Nora, Gotham love story, another tragic love story. This one, anybody who's a fan of John Green style novels are gonna love Victor and Nora. It's taken from that character, Mr. Freeze, and his doomed love affair with Nora that he froze, but this is kind of looking at it through a more YA lens, and the summer of love ending in the winter of despair. And Wonder Woman of History then coming out in December, which is going to be a nonfiction look at women who are shaping our world today, illustrated by our top artists, written by our top writers, curated by Lori House Anderson. This one's going to be wonderful, really educational. I think belongs in every classroom to just inspire our girls to become the women we all know we can be. And last slide, please. Next one. We've got our middle grade, so just working our way through the ages here. Middle grade books coming out in January. We've got We Found a Monster by Kirk Scroggs. If you were able to read Swamp Kid, Secret Spell of Swamp Kid, this is the same sort of illustration and humor in there. Absolutely hilarious, of a boy and his monster collection. And then Flash Facts, edited by Mayim Balik in February here, is stories featuring our characters that teach scientific principles. So edited by Mayim, as I said, with her PhD. So it really does have a strong STEM science understanding behind each of the stories here. And then on the side there, you can see some other middle grade titles coming out at the end of this year. The third Super Sons book, wrapping up that trilogy by Ridley Pearson. DC Superhero Girls still going strong for the fans of that series. And Archimaniacs by Art and Franco, really cute. Is there an AR copy of Flashbacks? Michael asks, and there will be soon. We don't have it up yet, but keep an eye on it. And yeah, last slide, please. Just if anyone has questions, wants to reach out, please don't hesitate to email me. We also have a newsletter that we send around that will have links to ARCs as they are made available on Edelweiss and NetGalley, and news of upcoming events and things that we're planning around these titles. So please shoot me a line, and I'd be happy to talk with any of you and get you connected to what's going on with DC. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And another huge thank you to all of today's wonderful panelists for taking the time to speak with us today. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones, like Booklist's Graphic Novel Panel Part 2. Type bit.ly/register for GN Panel 2 to register now. If you haven't already, be sure to check out Booklist Reader, where Booklist contributors post daily about all things books and library land. Did you know Booklist content is freely available to all until September 30th? Start reading with our digital edition a format that pairs the page-by-page reading experience of print with the convenience of online access at booklistonline.com, and lock in print, online, digital, and archive access by taking advantage of this special webinar offer to get Booklist for only $75. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more thank you to our sponsors, Penguin Young Readers, Macmillan Children's Publishing Group, Random House Children's Books, Scholastic, and DC Comics. This concludes today's webinar.